Oh man, the countdown is on for me going out on my dark retreat, and that means possibly only one more Tao of the day until I go. But here we are. Everything is as expected, and it should be said that I recently got my negative COVID test, so I will be welcomed into Guatemala without a problem, and I'm excited about that. So, yeah, if you have a number between 1 and 81, you want to come up with, I would love to. I'd love to share the Tao with you. So, the Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written about 600 BCE. This means it was written around the same time that scholars believe the Old Testament was written, and so is considered an ancient text. What we are here to do on wisdom is present you with your Tao for the day. What I'll do is I'll read through, if you pick a number between 1 and 81, I'll read through that Tao for you, and then we'll go through it line by line so we can experience what it means and where it might kind of fit into your life right now, what you might need to gain from it, how you might be able to appreciate what the Tao has for you. This is this could be very much like, picking a card, and I know Catherine Mahoney here on Wisdom, she does the cards of destiny, is very similar to that. So there are 81 pre-written verses translated by many different people, and if you come on and pick a number, if you come on regularly, we'll experience more translations, but I often lean on the translation of Stephen Mitchell. Stephen Mitchell has a wonderful translation, and I appreciate his translation. So if you are interested in stepping up and picking a number between 1 and 81, I would love to read your Tao for the day. Once again, the Tao is an ancient text translating to the canon of reason. So if you're interested in living a more reasonable life, this is the place for you. I do this weekdays in the morning Central Time, and usually the line queues up fairly quickly. But if anybody wants to come up and pick a number between 1 and 81, I would love to read your Tao for the day. I'm going to go ahead and pick a number just to kick us off. Let me get my notepad. I should have been prepared with that already, but um, 52 today is going to be where I'm going to go. Um, 52 of the Tao Te Ching states, "In the beginning was the Tao. All things issue from it. All things return to it. To find the origin, trace back the manifestations. When you recognize the children and find the mother, you will be free of sorrow. If you close your mind in judgment and traffic with desires, your heart will be troubled. If you keep your mind from judging, you aren't led by the senses. Your heart will find peace. Seeking, seeing in this seeing into darkness is clarity. Knowing how to yield is strength. Use your own light and return to the source of light. This is called practicing eternity." So this end of 52 is exceptional, especially as it relates to me, because I'm going to be going into that darkness retreat, like leaving in literally 2 days. So because I'm going into a darkness retreat in 2 days, it's clear that this is the number for me today. So that's how it chimes, even though there was things in the beginning that I also relate to and I want to talk about. So we're going to be going through this line by line. I want to experience this as looking at the end and the beginning together, um, and trying to understand the two and how they relate to one another, because it's so oftentimes when we look at this, we could lose track of things, right? As we're reading the beginning, we lose track of actually where we're going, and the end and the beginning don't often relate. So let's look at the end and the beginning together. So in the end, we see seeing into darkness is clarity, knowing how to yield is strength. Use your own light and return to the source of light. this is called practicing eternity. Okay, so practicing eternity is is where we're ending, right? This is called practicing eternity. And when we look at practicing eternity and we go to the first lines, in the beginning was the Tao, all things issue from it, all things return to it. This is practicing eternity, right? Like, so there is this immediate connection to in the beginning there was Tao, all things issue from it, all things return to it. So in the beginning, like once you have a beginning, once you have a demarcation of space or time, the Tao was there. So that means it was there before that. And so now that you have a beginning, it's possible to experience the Tao. In the beginning was the Tao. All things issue from it, all things experience, all things return to it. And as we relate this to the last line, this is called practicing eternity, right? Like the Tao practices eternity by allowing things to issue from it and return to it. So, to find the origin, trace back the manifestations. So, in order to find the origin of the Tao, you have to trace back the manifestations. What are the manifestations? We are the manifestations. Our experiences are the manifestations. Dr. Rao has been talking this morning about subjective and objective, right? Like, as we look at the world, do we experience it as subject or do we experience it as object? Like, do we experience it through ourselves or do we experience it? Um, do we experience it as ourselves or do we experience it as itself? And so that's what we're looking at here, right? To find the origin, if you want to find the origin, you have to trace back the manifestation. So you trace me back to my parents, back to them, back to them, back to them, all the way back, you know. Or you can also trace your experience of life, right? If you get upset at somebody doing something in your world, can you trace that back to why it's been manifest? Why is this manifest? What thoughts in your mind? What are you creating that make this manifest right now? So the Tao, in the beginning was the Tao, all things issue from it, all things return to it. To find the origin, trace back the manifestation. To find the origin of everything, you trace back the manifestation. And you will eventually land on the Tao. You will eventually land on this thing. And so, this thing that is the Tao. What you can do when you are living in your life is constantly trace back all of your experiences to the manifestation, which is you. So what thoughts created this? What thoughts, and how is this me? What is this within me? Right? When you recognize the children and find the mother, you will be free from sorrow. The children of the mother, right? Like this is actually really beautiful and I really like this Dao because like the children are, and this is so good for me right now as I'm going into this dark retreat, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the darkness and I'm going to be able to, like, all of the manifestation is going to come up, right? Because I will be in nothing. I will see nothing. I will experience. Well, I will see nothing. Let's say I will experience something definitely. Um, when you recognize the children and find the mother, if you think the mother is your frustration at that person driving too slow in front of you, if you think the frustration is your loss, if you think your frustration, if you think the child, or if you think the end of tracing it back is this one experience, like, right, like for me I was like, uh-oh, I have to pass this COVID test in order to go to Guatemala. That frustration, that fear comes from somewhere. Where does it come from? I get to trace that back to the mother. Tracing that back to the mother looks like Samantha's going to be stepping up, and I will definitely return to 52 to finish this because it is definitely for me today. Samantha, how are you doing, dear?
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm so excellent. How are you?
I am good. I heard you over on Dr. Rao's talk.
Oh, yeah, it was a fascinating topic. It was, and it was a message I think I really needed to hear today,
Yeah.
especially first thing in the morning. It just kind of set my day on the right path and the right track.
Well, let's see if we can continue bringing you messages of joy. Do you have a number
I
today?
love that. I love that. Let's continue this momentum.
Number
Um, 33, please.
33. You got distracted there. Where'd you go?
Oh, my other phone was going off, and it was just a text message. I'm sorry about that.
That's fine. No, 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 that's fine. I like to,
I,
I like to, like, cause like we were connected, and then I
yeah,
not only did you get quiet, but you got quiet in my heart. I was just kind of like, oh,
yeah.
she stepped
It's
away.
my
Like,
ADHD. Sometimes I'm like squirrel, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. Okay, 33 states, knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. If you realize you have enough, you are truly rich. If you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever.
Wow, that's powerful.
What are
Um,
some of your initial thoughts? How does that relate to your morning?
well, gosh, give me a second to think. It's kind of connected to what Dr. Rao was saying in a way.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
knowing others and knowing yourself especially, it's subjective. So you have to
Right.
learn to be aware and constantly, consistently be aware and in the moment, right?
Right, right. So, like that first line, right? Knowing others is intelligence. So you can say, "Oh, you've done this, and you've done this, and I know why, and you're a jerk, or you're this, or you're that, or you're trying to do this, da 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 da." That is you utilizing intelligence and being like, "I have surmised that this is happening." But knowing
Right.
yourself is true wisdom, and what Dr. Rao was talking about this morning in terms of objectivity, right? Like, is like,
Hmm.
well, you're observing this, so you're at the center of it. Like whether or not you're right isn't isn't the question because maybe you are,
No,
maybe you're
because
not.
right, your opinion is biased anyway,
Right.
no matter what it is.
But it's biased and valid,
Of course, yes.
right? But it's only valid for you.
Right.
So that's why knowing
Right. Your
yourself
opinion
is
ends
true
at the
wisdom.
end of your nose.
That's right.
Yeah. Um and then would you mind repeating the
Hmm.
part
Hmm.
about embracing death?
Oh yeah, that's the last line. And we like it would be nice to connect the end and the beginning here as well. If
Okay.
you stay in the center and embrace death with your whole heart, you will endure forever.
Man, that is a powerful, powerful statement. I liken it to what I typically say, in that it's all about the journey. The end result for everyone is the same. We all die at some point, but the
Mhm.
journey to get there and knowing yourself is ultimately what we should be striving to accomplish.
Yes, yes, absolutely. In knowing that we're gonna die is something that is really important in living.
Yes, and not
It's an important
fearing
aspect.
death.
Right. So
It's
those two can seem disparate, right? Those two can seem like the first lines and this line can seem very separate. So I'd love to hear. I'm going to read the first lines again, and then I would
okay.
love to hear how you see that connecting to the idea of embracing death with your whole heart. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. So, how does those two lines, knowing others and knowing yourself, and mastering yourself, how does that, how do you see that connecting to embracing death?
Well, again, it's about the journey, right? Life's journey, and being aware and in the moment, and understanding that eventually this whole plane of existence will come to an end, and that it's very important to utilize the time that you are given here to better understand yourself and master your uh not just influence, that's not the right word, but um mastering your ability to honestly connect with other people.
Hmm. Let's look at it a little differently. I want to
Okay.
explore this because this is a short one and we have some time. So how would knowing others and mastering others hinder your ability to embrace death?
Well, gosh, if you if you constantly see the negative in other people and the negative in yourself, chances are you're going to have a negative life experience, and you are going to fear and not welcome, death.
I
I
want
believe.
to I want to chime in. It's just there's nothing about this as negative, right? It just says knowing
Right.
others is intelligence and mastering. There's no like negative or positive here.
Okay.
So I
Um,
just wanted to I just want to kind of like, okay, well, I see that you brought in negativity, but there's no negativity here other than like the inability to embrace death through knowing. See, like I look at this as like if I know others and I master others, just like Dr. Rao was talking about, I'm looking outside of myself.
oh, that's very well put and not something that I had thought of. Thank you.
Once I start looking outside of myself, how can I embrace death?
Right. Uh, well, you can
Well,
you
and that's
can
I mean that's a
look
rhetorical
at it
question,
like
I
an
think.
old
Yeah.
friend. You know what I mean? Um, look at it like an old friend. I mean, it's constantly there, because everybody dies. But if you treat it like an old friend that you greet at the end of your life, then you have nothing to fear. And I believe mastering yourself and mastering others and utilizing that wisdom and intelligence, thinking outside of yourself, allows us to perceive death like an old friend, like what I was saying, and not
Yeah.
fear it, and age gracefully and with purpose and intent.
Yeah, and I think that, knowing yourself is knowing who you are. That's true wisdom. That's like trusting your heart and
Oh,
mastering
absolutely.
yourself, right? Mastering yourself, meaning that you have like this deep trust in yourself and in your inner core. Now you have
Hmm.
true power where you're not going to fear things like around you because you know who you are, and that will bring you closer to being a friend of death. Really, when you know others, you look outside of yourself and you
Sure.
know what they're doing, and when you master others, you can, like Putin is trying to do in the Ukraine or whatever in Ukraine. It's this idea of like mastering a yes, he has strength, but does he have true power? Does he know himself? Does
Right.
he know that he is going to die?
Right.
Right?
And
Like,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, 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 please.
Uh, I think that's a really great example because clearly he doesn't know himself, and he's afraid of dying. He wants this weird legacy of
Yeah.
fear and pain and unhappiness, and it's it's all tangled up and horrible, just absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Um uh but a good example nonetheless of how how not to live your life. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And he believes he knows others and he believes he's intelligent and he believes all of those things, but like that fear of oneself, and I don't want to dive too far into the psyche of Putin, but like all of these things. This is how, like, when you look outside of yourself, there is no truth. Just like Dr. Rao was talking about today. That's just that's just what you're experiencing.
Right,
When you look
right.
inside of yourself and recognize that you're experiencing that for a reason, now we move into this, third line, which we haven't reread yet, which is If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich.
I think that's probably my favorite line of the whole thing. And I'm
Hmm.
glad we're touching on that at the end. I have always gone without, I mean, I've been what you would consider a starving artist for 20 years,
You and me,
but
girl.
it's
Come
been,
on. That's what's
yeah,
up. I had
yeah,
a painting career for 20 years before I moved into healing, and I'm a starving healer. Come on.
yeah, yeah. I've been a touring musician for 20 years, and it's afforded me the opportunity to live and travel all over the world. Um, but I've had to be very frugal at it. And I'm so much happier without a lot of stuff. And I
Yeah.
know that sounds ridiculous. I
No,
know it. But
no.
an
Less is more,
attachment
man.
to
You were
things,
in that
yeah.
conversation too.
Yep. An attachment to things is not the way to live your life, meaningful conversations, connections like what we're having right now. That's the beauty of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
And when we see this line, if you realize you have enough, this is relating back to knowing yourself is true wisdom, mastering yourself is true power. So if you have true wisdom and true power, meaning you know yourself and you have mastered yourself, meaning that when we talk about mastering yourself, is like you are not going to be swayed by the newfangled like shiny thing, right? Like
right,
what have you. And I know you were talking earlier about ADHD and stuff, and that is work for you. That
right,
is your, whether that's through medication or whether that is through like meditation or whatever, like that is your work. Like there is a work to do for each and every one of us to master ourselves so that we can
sure,
stay centered here. If you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. And when you start looking outside of yourself for strength and intelligence, true wisdom doesn't have a low end or a high end. There's no
right,
spectrum there. It's just you're wise. And there is true power. Once again, true power of yourself, no spectrum. It's just is. You have it or you don't. But intelligence and strength can be measured.
sure.
When you
I
realize
never
that
I
you
never
have
thought of it that way.
enough, when you realize you have enough, meaning like when you are gaining intelligence or when you are gaining strength, is it ever enough? Just like when you're gaining money, is it ever
I
enough?
I believe I don't know if you can compare it to money because when you're
Intelligence and
gaining
strength?
wisdom and intelligence, no, I
Well,
believe you can constantly keep learning and growing and adapting as a person. When it comes to money, you can't take that with you when you die. And some people live their entire lives with one purpose, and that's to collect as much money as possible. And I've seen people just become absolutely miserable over the amount of money that they make. And
right.
it's heinous. It's horrible. I feel so
And
bad for them.
and when we look at money, we look at that, I can see that as coming into the realm of strength, right? Because especially
Right.
today, money like to have more money is to kind of believe one has more strength,
Right.
and
Right.
intelligence as it speaks about in the Tao. And please, if you cut out, come back up just so we can finish this up.
Okay.
um Intelligence and wisdom are two very different things as it relates to the Tao. Intelligence is something that you collect, and wisdom is something that you can just have. It's just always there. It's not something that is gathered. It is something that is like, the more wisdom you have, the more you let go of. The more intelligence you
Sure.
have, the more you collect. And that's where intelligence and strength, that's how I see these coming in. And that's because I read the Tao all the time. And that's how I see the Tao kind of referencing these things.
That's a gorgeous thought. I'd never thought of it like that.
And then, in the, once again, please come back up. In
Sure.
the concept of gathering things, intelligence or strength or money, right? What we end up experiencing is, when we gather things, and psychologists have talked about this for a long time. They've talked about this idea of the more you gather, the more fear of death you have, because you're like, oh, look, I have
Yes.
this big house and I have this money and I have, so I can't die. I can't die because
Right.
I have all of this stuff.
And it comes as a shock. And I don't want death to be a shock to me. Like, I want
Yeah.
to greet it like an old friend. Not that I'm
Yeah.
actively seeking it, you
No, of
know,
course.
um, but I don't want to live in fear of it either. Uh,
Right.
that's not to say I'm like living my life like YOLO. I hate that phrase. But I never understood that. Like, if you only live once, if you really believe that, wouldn't you try to protect your life and not do a bunch of crazy, stupid crap? I don't know.
Yeah, no,
So,
I agree. I agree. YOLO came after I was sober, so I don't get it either.
yeah, right. Same here. That's so funny.
Oh,
Um,
Samantha, thank you so much. Yes,
no, thank you.
embrace death with your whole heart, and you will endure forever. Like,
Absolutely. You are such a delight, Martin John.
oh,
Thank you so much for having me. And I will
absolutely.
see
Thank you
you
for
around
joining me.
wisdom. Have a great night.
Yes,
Bye.
you too. We're bringing on a new guest, John. I believe John is new for me.
Yes, Martin John, I am new for you. I only have a couple of quick seconds because I have to run into a meeting. But could you
Oh,
read
hell.
Dow 28? Because
28.
I think that might be pertinent. I think to expanding upon what you guys were talking about.
Okay. Know the male, yet keep to the female. Receive the world in your arms. If you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you, and you will be like a child. Know the white, yet keep to the black. Be a pattern for the world. If you are a pattern for the world, the Tao will be strong inside you, and there will be nothing you can't do. Know the personal, yet keep to the impersonal. Accept the world as it is. If you accept the world, the Tao will be luminous inside you, and you will return to your primal self. The world is formed from the void, like utensils from a block of wood. The master knows the utensils, yet keeps to the block. Thus, she can use all things. I know you got a meeting to get into, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's
So I'll
really
hop. I'll hop off real quick. But yeah, just. I thought I'd.
all right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to move on to Lois, and we're going to talk with Lois about that, about what's going on with her. What's Lois, my girl? How you doing?
Uh, John called the number I had, but you didn't explain it. So let's read it again.
Yeah, well,
Because
let's
that
go
did,
through
I was like,
numbers.
wait, because I
Like,
said,
look, John just
wait,
John
wait,
just
wait.
came on to make a scene. Come on now,
No,
like,
he said number 28. I was like, oh man, that was the only number in
hey,
my head today.
that's
Because
all
usually
right.
I have two, you
He
know.
had meetings. He's not even gonna benefit from the line by line. So we read it. Um,
So
we
start it
read.
over again because I
Yeah, I'm
wasn't
gonna.
listening real close because I was trying to think of another. I was
Yeah,
trying
no,
to
no,
think of
no.
another number.
So know the male,
Uh
yet
huh.
keep to the female. Receive
Okay.
the world in your arms. If you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you, and you can be like a little child. Know the white, yet keep to the black. Be a pattern for the world. If you are a pattern for the world, the Tao will be strong inside you, and there will be nothing you can't do. Know the personal, yet keep to the impersonal. Accept the world as it is. If you accept the world, the Tao will be luminous inside you, and you will return to your primal self. The world is formed from the void, like utensils from a block of wood. The master knows the utensils, yet keeps to the block. Thus, she can use all things.
Beautiful,
Initial
beautiful.
thoughts.
Initial thoughts: stay balanced, stay balanced, man.
Mhm,
Temperance, stay balanced. Being,
mhm.
it's like you. Oh, excuse me, I got to clear my throat. Whew. Okay, it's
La
kind of
la la
like
la.
yeah, basically, I didn't have my tea this morning. I just been up. I just been on a okay. I'm always on a high, so I can't say that. Uh,
Yeah.
but anyway, knowing the male, the female, all that dichotomous stuff they're talking is about remaining balanced. Recognize that I have a masculine side, I have a feminine side. I need to stay in balance. I need to keep my intuition and my intellect married in my heart. And if I keep that married in my heart, that's the dark and the light, the good and the bad, all that stuff locked in my heart, then I'm able to live through my heart to give this to the world. Okay. And then I'm staying with it because it's in my heart. Not, that's my brain and my gut or intellect or wherever however you want to say it. My masculine and my feminine energies are married in my heart. And
Hmm.
because they're married in my heart, they overflow out to everybody. That's my initial thing. And then
Yeah.
the subjective part is then
Yeah.
I know I stay in the subjective part when I'm doing that because I'm perceiving things as they are. I am not assigning, I'm not cloaking them with an emotion, and I'm not cloaking them with an adjective to make them any lesser or greater than they are. They just are.
Hmm. Well, let's start looking at this like a little
Okay.
deeper, and let's look at, because there's four sections, right? It's going to be
Uh-huh.
know the male, yet keep to the female, receive the world in your arms. If you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you, and you will be like a little child.
And I'm giddy as hell.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, so here what we're looking at is know the male yet keep to the female. So when I talk about male and female, I always talk
Mhm.
about structure and substance. And I know
Mhm.
we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
This idea that, like, the male is what you experience. The female is the substance of that experience. So, like, you can have a relationship, but the love that is felt and changes day to day and is always kind of moving, that's the female. And when we talk about receiving the world in your arms, I look at that as being like, let the world be. Like, you receive the world. You don't have to go, like, make yourself like the world, right? You don't have to
No.
make yourself powerful in the world. You receive the world.
But that's what I was saying about the objective and the subject, because the
Yes,
objective is the masculine and the
that's right.
subjective or perception is the feminine. And if you
Right.
keep that in balance, that masculine and feminine in balance in your heart,
Mm-hmm.
the world is already open. The world is open because you're seeing things the way they should be seen in balance. Not one is worse than the other, one is better than
That's
the
right.
other. None of that judgment goes on because you see the value of all for
That's
all.
right. That's right. And what you start looking at then is, like, in as the states is, if you receive the Tao will never leave you, and you will be like a little child. And little children are giddy, and
And
they
carefree.
experience things. They're carefree, but they experience things for the first time, and they're
And,
curious,
and
and so they can.
day one is all the time. Day one is all the time. Every day is day one. Every
That's right.
time it's not a oh here yet here's the same shit different day. No, it's a different day, different shit. Now if you want to
That's right.
bring yesterday's shit into today, that's your issue.
That's your
Okay.
issue, and
That
that's the male, right? Like, that's
right,
you
okay,
building a
exactly. That's
definition.
you. But if you have compassion for yourself, you know that you've been honored a day, a grace period. You don't
Hmm.
have to pick that stuff up again. You've been given that grace not to pick it up again. But if
Hmm.
you choose to do so, you can. But
Yeah.
that kind of taints that newness of the of your day and the newness of how much you can spend your life that in that day. You know,
Yeah.
it's just boy, I like this one.
So
This is
so
good.
this next part is know the white, you keep to the black. And because I'm going on this dark retreat in a couple
Uh-huh.
days, I want to say know the light, yet keep to the darkness. Be a pattern for the world. If you are a pattern for the world, the Tao will be strong within you, and there will be nothing you can't do.
And to me, that part is saying, you ain't got to tell nobody nothing. You ain't got to preach nothing to nobody. You ain't got to teach nothing to nobody. All you got to do is just be.
Yeah.
And be
Yeah,
and be authentically you.
right.
Just be
Because there is
authentically you.
there is both white and black, or light and darkness, within each of us, and we
Yes.
can express that
Mm-hmm.
and allow the Tao to be strong within us. There will be nothing we can't do. Just like you and I, we're coming out of some shit that people didn't think we were going to ever get out of.
Oh no, like, man, you bad, man, you speaking.
you know. And so, but because we were able to, and as we kind of formed and as we continued to grow out of the darkness that we put ourselves in, and
Mm,
that we accepted, and then we fourth stepped shit out of, right? Like we
right,
looked at that, we looked at ourselves with that fearlessness.
right.
We were able to become the pattern that
Yes,
the world sees within us. And now now there is nothing we can't do. We just face
right.
every day without judgment.
And the thing is, and the whole thing is, it was the acceptance of the shit as that was our lot in life, or that was the way we had to roll, or that was just the way the cookie crumbles, and that's how
Hmm.
the shoe had to drop. But see, the shoe don't have to drop, the cookie don't have to crumble, and all that don't have to be that way. All we had to do is change our perception, and that's that part about being in the dial, because
Yes.
things just are. There's some good things gonna happen, quote unquote, and some bad things gonna happen, quote unquote. Because the thing is, it just is now. Because the same thing could happen to both of us, and
Oh
I
yeah,
might consider it a big ass blessing, and you might consider it a curse from hell. You
that's
know what I'm
right. And
saying?
considering it anything
Yes, it's
moves us
taking
to the
you
mail.
out. It's taking
Right.
you out.
That's right.
Okay, it's
Considering it
taking
anything.
you out.
That's right.
Okay, so yes, I think, yeah, I knew I needed 28.
So when we continue this one to say, know the personal yet keep to the impersonal, and this is really poignant for the work that I do. Accept the world as it is. If you
Yes,
accept the world, the Tao will be luminous inside you, and you will return to your primal self.
yes,
You know, like for this, it's like, yes, know the personal, but keep it impersonal. Like this is when I go into an IOP program and I say, look, I don't care about your sobriety. I care about you.
hmm,
And that means that like whatever you do, I'm unattached to, but in the end I'm going to love you, and if that means you're going to die, I'm going to come to your funeral and I will shed those tears and I will be,
right.
but I will not take it personal. I know
Okay,
that your life is yours.
exactly. I told, and then people say, "Oh, that was so mean." I told my kids, and Sharenta was what, I care less, and she said, "Huh?" I said, "If I care more, I would go into worry.
That's
So
right.
from now on, I care less. I care
That's right.
less about you, because I
In the
care
most
less. I
loving
love you
way
more."
possible. In
Because
the
I
most
care less,
loving
I
way
love you
possible.
more. Yes,
Yeah.
basically. And so we have to get to that place. And I know her personally enough to be entwined with all of the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that she went through and was
Mm-hmm.
going through. But because I knew the personal and kept it impersonal, I was actually be able to be help her subjectively and objectively.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So
Because when we take things impersonally, we don't care in the most loving way possible, right?
yes,
And that's the
exactly.
thing. Like if we can get to that place of caring so much that we don't care. And I was
Right.
talking to someone about relationships the other day, and I was just like, I want to love someone so much I don't want to marry them. You know,
Well,
it's
I
like
heard
I
you
want to.
say that, and I thought about that shit. I was like, "Oh, see, this man is like my brother for real." Because I understand that one.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
It's
I understand that one, Martin. Man, I understand that.
yeah.
Okay, because
Like
it's
it's
like, wow, because I've let people go that I was told I should have held on to because I love them that much.
yes,
I
yes.
love
That's what
them
love
that much.
is.
I had to let them go because I was a detriment to them in the
Mm-hmm.
state I was in and allowing of some of stuff. It was like, okay, I'm not good for them, and they definitely not good for me. But I want them, but I love them. But then God, I had to ask myself, God, what do I do? God said, do you really love them? Then let them go. If
Yeah.
they're yours, they'll come back, and if they're not, they'll be gone forever.
And
And I
that's
was
the
like,
know the personal, yet keep to the impersonal. It's this isn't personal. This is
yeah,
I love you, and it's not. It's me marrying you or doing something like that is not a declaration of anything. It's
oh,
like really just
exactly.
fear.
You know what? And I say this, having been engaged 8 times, married once. Okay,
Whoa, girl,
so shit. I
man,
know what I'm talking about
you
because I've had to do it.
I'm
I've had
telling
to
you.
do it. I've had to do it, and it's hurt. Oh my God, it's hurt because I could have been rich. I could have been a whole lot of shit.
Yeah,
Okay, but it wasn't worth. my soul. Okay, it wasn't worth my esteem for myself. It wasn't worth my help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it wasn't. Oh my God, it wasn't worth any of that. So I had to
Yeah.
cut it loose. It's like, oh, here we go. I'm sorry, but here's your ring back. And most time they wanted to give it to me anyway. I didn't want it, and then they want
Yeah.
to be friends forever. And I tried to play that game, but I understand they were just trying to be friends and lay low until a weak point came, and I said "Hey, whatever, and it didn't happen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yes,
And
we
that's,
got.
that's where we wrap this up is the
Mhm.
world is formed from the void. Like
Yes.
utensils from a block of wood, the master knows the utensils, yet keeps to the block. Thus, she can use all things. And when we're talking about all of these things, right, we look at the void. The
Yes.
void is the everything. It's everything is possible.
Hmm.
And yet um, nothing is yet formed.
And
Like
the thing
utensils
is,
from a block of wood.
so I think of that. I think of how we create our own lives. We create this. We create this. With our vibration and with our tools that we've learned from all the boo boo that we done went through, we
Mm-hmm. Yep.
create. We get to create it. That's why we got the tools and the block of wood, and we can stay to the block of wood, which is us.
Yes, that's
You
right.
know.
And
So,
and it's not formed yet. And
no,
because
it's
it's
not
not
for.
formed, and every day when we wake up, we can stay in as the block. We do not have to be the utensil. We do not have to be the hammer. So we
We don't
don't
have to be
have
the.
to.
Wait. We don't have to be a tool.
That's right. We don't have to be a tool yet. We can be a block, and
No.
then we can carve that block into the tool that we need at the moment we need it.
We need
We
it.
don't have to keep to the utensil. We don't have to keep to the tool. We keep to the block.
That's
It keeps
right.
to the block, and thus you can use all things. So this moment, what is this block? What is this block that is my life? What is this block that
Yeah.
is who I
Well,
am,
this
what
is
I am?
gratefulness right now because I'm talking to you, Mr. Martin John, who I call my brother because you remind me so much of my damn brother Glenn. Till it's unfucking real. You and Daryl remind me. My sister said the same thing too before I even said it. Okay, that
Mm,
y'all remind us of our brothers. I mean, my one brother is gone. The other brother, we don't know where he is, but I
right.
talk to you about him. But when he's in his right mind, he's talking like this, like you're
Yeah.
talking with me. And I used to love those conversations with my big brother, So I love you, Martin John. And in this moment right now, the shape I've shaped this is in the shape of gratitude for you, my big brother. And even though you're
No.
younger than me, I love you, and I'll talk to you later.
Love you, dear. We'll be in touch for sure, and I can't wait to reconnect with you once I get back from my dark retreat. All right, we got a number of people. Looks like we have 5 people in line. Sharente's up next. I do see John out there. I do want to get back to you, but we just read 28. I hope you're following for that. And Sharente, how you doing, girl?
I'm doing good. How are you, Mr. Martin John?
What's up? I gotta get you to do an intro for me,
You
girl.
know I always have to do an intro for the Martin John. Come on now.
Oh, come on, you making me blush.
I can't, because here's my thing. Here go. We sometimes have to do an intro for the main host, okay? It can't just be here he is. Da 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 da. No.
Oh, I think there's only one more day of this before I go on my dark retreat. So I'm glad you're up. It's really great to have you participating.
Oh yeah. And here I have to figure out a number. Let me figure out a number. Let me figure four. I'm gonna choose four.
Oh,
And are you doing
oh.
the Hogan translation?
I can, yeah. Let's go with
Okay.
4 on the Hogan translation. I don't know nothing about it. How much Tao is there? More than you'll ever need. As much as you want. There's plenty more where that came from. You can't see Tao, but it's there. Damned if I know where it came from. It's just always been around.
This is so simple, and I love how simple this is.
Yeah,
How much love is there? More than you'll ever need. Use as
yeah,
much as you want. There's plenty of more where that came from. You can't see love, but it's there. Damned if I know where it came from. It's just always been around.
yeah. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Like, you know, the nice thing about this Hogan is it is so just present. It's just like, so like it's just presented very matter of factly, you know.
It really is. And I love this because this reminds me, I think I like going into movies like in regards to
Mhm.
my thing. So this one reminds me of Encanto, because the girl was told that she never had a power, and all of her family had powers that you can visibly see. One can shoot out flowers, another one has strength, supernatural strength, another one can heal by her using her hands to make food, another one can listen and talk to animals. And they all had their own gift, but when they asked her, you're Marielle, what's your power? She's like, I didn't get a power. Her power actually was the power of unconditional love. It's just they could
Mm,
not see that. So they treated her differently because they could not see her power. But it was
right.
through her power that the family was able to see her long lost family member, and him feel comfortable enough to come back to the family after they pretty much threw him away, and for them to be able to rebuild. The love was always there. The fear was pervasive, so much so that there was a separation.
Yeah. I'm
So
intrigued. I
Disney
want to
movies.
yeah, I want to read the Stephen Mitchell, just read through it and then go back to the Hogan, just so we can, like, cuz this is the one that like I kind of reference. This is just a touchstone for me.
No, that's fine. I'm
The
listening.
Tao is like a well, used but never used up. It is like the eternal void, filled with infinite possibilities. It is hidden but always present. I don't know who gave birth to it. It is older than God. Man,
I'm just
that
smiling.
The Hogan version is so nice, and it really does, like, I mean, it really does express that in very different terms, you know.
But I will
Um
say that other translation was really good too, because it is
yeah.
a well that we're always drinking from, because love never dies. Love is an eternal infinity to beyond kind of thing. Like, and people don't know where it comes from, but it is our source. It's how we got here. I can't tell
Mhm.
you how we actually got here for the molecular structure and how that all works with the egg planting and the fertilization and the growing in the womb, and I can't tell you all that. But what I can tell you, that every process and all that we are, it is love. And no, do we really know where we come from? I don't think we'll ever really know truly where we come from until we go back there.
Right. You know, and I'm going to read this. You know, Hogan utilized the Stephen Mitchell as his sort of foundational text, and then he looked at others, but his text is very much related to the Stephen Mitchell text. And so when we look at these two together, it's a really great way of seeing how another person thought about the translation that Stephen Mitchell has come up with. And so, how much Tao is there? More than you'll ever need. So, like, just looking at that, like, how much love is there? More than you'll ever need. Use as much as you want. There's plenty more where that came from. Like, there is this idea that, you know, there are things that are finite, and even in expressing it in this way, it can make me think back to the 70s when we talked about pollution as, oh, the solution to pollution is dilution, you know, like things were finite, you know, the
Yeah.
thing, but you know, like, that was such a shitty way of looking at it, because you can't dilute something to the degree that we would need to, right? Like, look at the oceans, right? They're dying, and it's, you know, it's because we can't just throw things in the ocean and say, oh well, look at that, I'm just throwing a barrel of, you know, like, toxic waste into the ocean, no big deal, there's so much. It's now 1 part per million or whatever, or 6 part, you know, like, whatever. It's like, it's so diluted. And when we go back to this Stephen Mitchell text that says, the Tao is like a well, used but never used up. It is like the eternal void, filled with infinite possibilities. I do like how Stephen Mitchell puts it, because, like, he is making it feel infinite. Where I think the Hogan translation, although presented really well, it does in my mind give this idea that, like, there's plenty more where that came from. But the infinite nature of it is, I think, a little lost. And that's the thing, like, it is so infinite. Love is infinite, used but never used up. Like, I could love you right now deeply, so deeply. And all I have is more for Kelly, who's up next, right? Like, it's never used up.
Ever. And the thing is that when people say, "Oh, hero," I love this line. They're like, "Oh, you're so unlovable," and I was like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." I was like, "I am love, and you are love too. You choose to see the absence of the love."
Right. Right. So many people try to see the end of it, right? And see that,
There's
and it's
no
just like,
end.
no, there's no end. There is changing, and there is reformulating, and there's like I was like Lois and I were talking about a little bit ago, where it was like, like, I can love you enough to not want to marry you, right? Like, I want to love you that much because I know this is always going to change, and I don't want to utilize some structure in order to encapsulate the love. And that's where, like, love is infinite, with infinite possibilities, meaning being together, being apart, being one, being multiple, like all of those things, the infinite possibilities.
The possibilities are endless,
The
endless,
possibilities are
endless.
endless. What is that? That's an ad for
Yeah, I
something.
just
I
don't know
can't think of
what
what it
right
is.
now. I'm gonna be absolutely
Yeah,
honest.
it's a child thing. I think it might be Legos or something. I don't know. Someone will have to let us know at some point. It is
Um,
hidden but always present. I don't know who gave birth to it. It is
mm,
older than God. It is
let's
hidden but
find
always
it.
present. And that's the thing. Like, just like you were talking about with the movie. Like, they didn't see her superpower. It was hidden, but it was always present. And when they recognized it, didn't mean it had more power, but they for some reason found, like, well, now that they were able to identify it. I don't know if this is true, if this happened in the movie or not. They were able to appreciate it.
They were, and I will say this. So, because okay, I'm gonna go. I have both translations open now. So
Oh
the
yeah.
child's like, "Oh well, used but never used up." It's into okay. So in the movie, there was a candle that was lit, and in the vision that was had by Bruno, the person that was a family member that was shunned away for the fact that he could see, but he could not really interpret what the information that he was given. And he saw that when the girl that had the power of love came to be, that she had a choice in regards to the house cracking and breaking or everything being restored, but it was pretty much, it was up to her. And what she saw was the candle being exterminated. So she saw the love being exterminated, and she was like, I can't allow that to happen, because if this happens, this is the source of all our powers. And
Yeah.
if this happens, then where is our family going to be? Our family supports this entire village. What's going to happen? She went and she told people, and they called her crazy and they belittled her. And then she said, you know what? Okay, I'm still going to try to figure out. I'm going to be Inspector Gadget. I'm going to be Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to figure. And she went on this. One of them had a song called oh, I see her face in my mind and I can't think of the song, but it's oh, Pressure. And she was always under pressure, and she didn't know one day if she was not going to be able to hold up all the things that people were asking her to hold up. She thought she was going to succumb to the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one person that she talked to. The next person she talked to was she finally found Bruno. She saw his vision and stuff like that, and then she found Bruno and behind the wall. And Bruno made it a mission for himself to start fixing the cracks in the wall. Mind you, this is the guy that has prophecy. He decided to fix the cracks in the wall. He had a seat in the very back, right where the family little peephole, so that he could still eat dinner with his family. He still
Mm.
loved them. It's just they didn't like him for the fact that his prophecies he could not interpret too, and they only saw the bad. They didn't see the good out of his stuff, and it was majority good. It wasn't bad. It was their perception of that. So he stayed hidden behind the wall. She found him, they and stuff like that, and then he goes and he has another vision, and he sees that she has to take down the fence that she built with her sister, because her sister was always put on this pedestal of being perfect, and she wasn't perfect, and she felt not enough. So he said, you need to fix this, not enough. Fix this. He didn't say it like that, but you know what I mean. So after she goes and does that, she's like, she sucks it up because she's like, I have to grin and bear. I don't want to even say this, whatever. And the girl's like, well, you're the cause of all my problems and stuff like that. okay, first of all, she's not, but okay. And he's like,
we're gonna take a step. We're gonna take a step back from the movie. How is this
this is
relating
a
back
Disney
to it?
movie. Come
I'm
on
getting a
now.
little lost.
Okay, like there's a lot of back and forth a bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of story here, and we want to stick with the Tao really quick. Like,
But it's literally all about it. It's all about, hey, they have to fill up the cup of love, not the cup of fear. Because every time they
yeah,
filled up the cup of fear, that light was dwindling. And that's the reason why I'm saying for
yeah,
the
okay.
Tao is like a well, used but never
Never
used up.
used up. Yes, yes, yes.
Hidden but
It is
always
like the
present.
eternal void, right? Like the eternal void can always receive, filled, and as it, like, you can put anything in it and it will receive it. And that's the eternal void. It is like, so that love is like the eternal void with infinite possibilities. So, you know, a lot of people want to kind of look at love and hate as like opposites and stuff, but hate can be included in love because there are infinite possibilities to that.
Would be this is hate the fear of love, but it's still love.
Hmm. And it's just coming from a different. It's just coming from a different perspective. Like I hate to look at levels, right? Because it's like I don't think that people come into this world with, like, in a hierarchy. I do think that there are, like, we are all attached to a consciousness body that needs awakening. And so there are many different consciousness bodies. There's still consciousness bodies in the survival um, mode, and there are consciousness bodies that are in the, mm, spiritual mode. And so all of those consciousness bodies need to be reconciled. And when we understand that love is going to allow everybody their consciousness, the work that they need to do in their consciousness body, then they get to experience and aid in the advancement of all people. And that's why love is hidden but always present.
I will dare say this one last thing, and then I'll get here, and then I will get dunked off your dunk tank of your stage. I love Daryl's thing with. I'm gonna say this. So it says the Tao. So what about the joy is like a well, or the guilt is like a well, used up or used but never used up. It is like the internal void. It's any emotions I think can be symbolized in what the Tao is, because all these emotions, us to choose what we decide to focus on and how we live our life and our perception.
Right. And the Tao holds it all within it,
Mm-hmm.
like the eternal void filled with infinite possibilities. So you can make it whatever you want.
Oh yeah. But and have a great day. If I don't talk to you, have a great dark retreat.
Thank you so much. We will definitely be in touch. Kelly was next, and we're going to talk to Kelly. We're going to see. We got Kelly, then John, then the energy lady. And if anybody needs to step out of line, you can. Burp, burp. I just lost. Oh, Kelly stepped away. So we're going to move on to, and John was after Kelly. So let's bring John back on. And I know John had picked 28. So I'm going to take a trip back to 28 real quick. Hey, John, welcome back. Are you with me? Is your phone on mute? Mm-hmm. I'll give you till 30, and then we'll switch you out. It was great to have you pick 28, and Lois, who came up after you, picked 28 as well, so we went through that. Okay, well, we're going to switch you out and see if... I know Kelly just sent me a text, so I'm going to see if she's hanging out or whatnot. Kelly, can you come back up?
Where's my connection bad?
Oh, there you
Oh,
go, John. You're back.
okay. Good,
Yeah.
good, good. I wasn't sure if you were able to hear me. Okay, good, good. Okay. It's good to talk to you, man. It's good to be back. My meeting was short, and I'm in the car, so I wasn't sure how my connection would be. Is it all right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a little echoey, but we can deal with that.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, man, I picked 28 after I heard about your dark retreat, and also just when I heard some of the things. That was nice and serendipitous to hear that Lois, when I hopped back on, that the 28 had resonated with her too, and when she was talking about, letting go of, situations where she had, romances like that, I had to do that over the past year too. So I feel for her when it comes to that. I definitely can resonate with that, but yeah, man, it's good to talk to you. I've heard about some of these talks, and I also resonated with your last guest. I didn't catch her name, but just the
Charente.
concept of, yeah, Sharente, the concept of just love, and I think that love really is the only thing that is real in this world. I think, and everything else is kind of invented, and I think that it was number 4 that kind of and the fact that she incorporated a Disney movie, I thought was pretty awesome.
Oh, was that a Disney movie?
Yeah, or was it DreamWorks? I don't know. It was one of those two.
Oh, I don't know.
um, but yeah, man. I thought that the 28 was just really pertinent to what you were talking about with Samantha, about the concept of death and how we can't really leave anything here. So if we embody what we are, if we just embody the infinite, which, as we read in number 4, is love, then we don't really have to fear the end, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. When we, as we look at it in 28, know the male you keep to the female being the void, right? Like the big, we can yield from that position. So we can yield to death, and we can yield to the death of our identity throughout our lives, and then we can
Right.
yield to death at the end of our life as well, because that is still just like our body is still just an identity.
Yeah, absolutely. And identity is really just kind of something that we invent as well. It's something that keeps us separate from unity in a way. I mean, it's important to us, but as if we let it be a source of division rather than a source of something that is something that we can connect with people on, then that's when it becomes a problem, I think.
Yeah, and I think that any identity really keeps us from connecting with somebody.
To any
So
extent, or even to just like, do you think that happens to any extent at all, or do you think that some identity is okay?
well, I mean, as soon as you're born, we have to recognize that that is identity, right? You have been stripped from the oneness, and now you are separate, right? You are 100% separate as well as 100% connected, and so there
Right.
is a paradox with life, and that is why the Buddhists call life suffering, right? Like
Right.
because we have been separated from the oneness. So being separated from the oneness, we can't explore the togetherness, right? Like so now there is male
Right.
and female in the structure versus substance kind of thing, right? And so here we are on 28, right? We can receive the world in our arms when we keep to the female, but we have to know the male, right? We have to know the
Right.
structure, but we have to keep to the substance. If we can keep to
Right.
the substance, we can receive the world because we don't judge it from
Right.
from the position of the structure or the male.
Right. And it's kind of like reconciling those two natures in a way, because we can't live with, we can't, the male is almost like, at least the way I interpret it, the male is our ability to live in this world, which is full of brutality, and we have to find a way to adapt to this world without losing our sense of self and higher self, which is, it sounds like based on 28 would be the female. Would that be, is that your sense?
Well, I look at male and female like structure and substance, right? So, the Tao talks about this in a way in one of the verses. It's like, the house is the male, but the space
Right.
inside the house is the female. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't utilize a house unless there's space. And the space was there before you built the house. You just couldn't see it.
Right. And it
So
would
now
almost
you
be
can
like,
experience it.
right, so it would almost be like our ability, the male would allow us to assert our spirituality and assert the love, whereas the female would allow our ability to be receptive to that love.
Correct. So the body that you have and the mind that you have and the brain and all of that stuff, that's all male. But the thoughts, the observations, like the who is thinking is the female. That's the spirit. That's
Okay,
consciousness.
that makes a lot of sense.
So know the
And it,
male, yet keep to the female. Don't get caught up in the body. Don't get caught up in the stuff. Don't get caught up in the structure. Remember that it
right.
is the space in the house in which you utilize.
So the male helps us navigate this world, and the female helps us remember who we actually are.
And the male has had quite a bit of and the male has had quite a bit of power over the last millennia or so, where it's like we have built structures, right? We built structures in our
Right.
education system. We have built structures in our economic system. We have built structures in all of these different arenas, and those
Mhm.
structures have become the thing that we rely on, while
Right.
those structures are trying to enhance or give us access to the substance that we at some point said, oh, we need a structure so that we can do this. Like, education is a beautiful thing, to be knowledgeable and to
Yes.
be but we have contained it in the structure to such a degree that it only benefits a small number of people.
Right, and I thought the distinction you made between intelligence and wisdom was really important, because I think they really are two different things. Wisdom is sort of like that. It's a different type of knowledge, and I like the fact that you said that it's more of a intelligence is more of a collection of knowledge, whereas wisdom is more of being receptive to knowledge.
Right.
Was
Yeah.
I
And
understanding correct of that? Could you elaborate on that a bit?
well, yeah, I suppose. I guess what I look at, and I'm hearing an echo. Would you mind when I'm talking, if you can just mute?
Oh yeah,
Is that
sure.
possible? Yeah. Um, yeah, that way it's just clearer. So yeah, the space of intelligence and wisdom, and I can look up the verse actually on this translation. Uh, Give me 1 second. Um, let's see. So let's see if I can find it. Knowing others' intelligence, knowing others is true wisdom. That's what we were talking about in 33.
Mhm.
um no, I can't find that. So yeah, so knowing intelligence is something that you gain, right? And something that, like, you can always add to. You can always keep collecting more intelligence. All the books that you read, all the conversations you have, all the classes you take, all the courses you do, like all of those things, like that's just gathering, 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 gathering. But there is more out there. There's always more intelligence that you can gather that exists out there. There is no
Right.
there is no end to the amount, especially today. There was a time, long time ago, in which all of the books that were published, someone would have been able to read in their lifetime. But now, that's impossible.
Mhm.
And so the fact that you can go out in the world and never stop acquiring more intelligence it has to be noted that no matter how much school you've gone to, there's still more. And there's more being written today than has ever been written before. Like, the amount of people who've got books out there are ridiculous. Like, everybody's got a book.
Yeah.
Everybody and their sister has written a book. So who cares? Like, and who's going to
Right.
read it, and who wants to read it? And so when you can lean on wisdom, wisdom is coming from within you. It is intuition. It is knowing yourself, as we speak about knowing yourself, and that was in one of the ones we read today as well. It's like, knowing yourself is true wisdom, right? And when you know how to respond to a situation from your internal self, then you get
Mhm.
to be present with that. When you respond to everything from intellect, well, there's always something that you don't know.
Sure,
So then
absolutely.
so then you can't make a decision ever, because, well, what if you don't have all of the information? You wouldn't even know if you don't have all the information. You just assume
Right.
you do. So that's how I would decipher the two. Like, wisdom is just trust and trusting in your intuition and all of that.
Yeah, and to some extent, it would have to be like you have to take a leap of faith in that sense, and that's where the Tao comes in, I would imagine, because it's where that love comes in, it's where that trust comes in, it's where all of that comes in.
You know, like faith is one of those words that is impossible to achieve. You know, it's such an interesting word because it's a human word for a very non-human experience. And I love the word
Right.
faith, and I want to be able to have faith, but like really, you don't even know if you have it until it's questioned, right? Like,
That's true.
and
No, that's a
and
very good point.
and you only recognize it when you've lost it. And so it's an
Right.
interesting thing that, it's not a leap of faith. It's just being. And if you can get to this place of being, when you can keep to the female, when you can be a
Mhm.
pattern, when you can accept the world as it is, now you're walking hand in hand with as Lois and I were talking about when we broke through this, like the world is formed from the void.
Right.
At any moment, it could be something else. And so stick to the block, stick to the thing that makes it. Don't,
Mhm.
don't, don't hone in on the fact that it's a knife or a fork or a tool. Like just look at it as a block and then carve what is needed at this moment.
Right. It's almost like existing in the mystery and then trying to navigate what that is, and but like being in that instead of trying to attach whatever you want to that mystery and
Right.
deciding what the answer is ahead of time.
That's right. I know people, like some of my clients sometimes come to me and it's like, "Oh, if this happens, I'm going to say this," and I'm like, "Whoa!" like
Right.
you're creating a story before it even happens. So what's going to happen is you're going to hear that story, even if that story isn't what's playing out.
Right. You're preparing for something that doesn't exist yet.
Right. Right. And you're assuming that you know what's going to exist and what that
Right.
moment is going to need when it isn't that moment right now. So you can't experience that. Like if in a week the right answer that is today is not the right answer, you have to be able to be you have to stick with the void. You have to stick with the female, the space. Because yes,
Right.
the male is how we experience the space, but that male, like that structure that is helping us experience it is not the answer. That is
Yeah. It
just
comes as. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that is just the structure so we can experience.
Right. It comes as a not a reaction but a response to the female is the way that I think of it.
Yeah, we can't have one without the other, right? So, like in this world, right? In the spiritual world, we are all female. We are all receiving. We accept all things
Mhm.
in the spiritual world. But because we
Right.
have bodies, we need to have the male in order to experience the female. I was talking to someone one time about. He was saying, "Well, if you have starlings in the sky, how do they interact as male and female?" And I was just like, "Well, they are the male, and the sky
Mm.
is the female." And when the starlings are gone, you can't really experience the sky unless you experience the blue of the sky, which the blue then becomes the male, but you can't experience
Sure.
the emptiness. But the emptiness will receive clouds, will receive rain, will receive birds, will receive planes. All of those things will be able to be received. And so you can then experience the female. But without that structure, you're lost. It's emptiness.
Yeah. Absolutely. That makes a ton of sense. Well, this has been a great chat, man. I really enjoyed it. And thanks for having me despite being in the car and all that stuff.
No,
So,
no, no, quite all
yeah.
right. Yeah, and I love that we returned to 28 and covered it twice, but with two different approaches. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. Definitely come back. We got Energy Lady next, and then Graciela. I did talk to Kelly, and apparently something is going. There's a glitch in the app, maybe on my end. I apologize.
Good
Energy
morning.
Lady, good morning. How are you, my dear?
I'm good. Are you getting super excited?
Like excited is a thing I don't get. Like I'm getting prepared.
Okay.
and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have this experience and it's gonna be great. Like I don't know, like it's funny. I don't get excited. I don't really like. I remember when I was a kid, I got excited to go to Great America. I'm here in Chicago, and that's a a Marriott sort of adventure park kind of thing. But I don't get that way anymore. I don't know if it's just me or if it's like my past cocaine use or what, but I definitely don't I don't get excited about stuff. Um so it's but yes, I mean I'm interested in what is going to take place. So I mean there is like as excited as I get, I am getting.
Well, there you go. Because I don't know what your definition of excited is, but I was just going with a feeling space. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And and I think it's like it just might be words and how the word excited has changed throughout my life, right? Like and how it's and how I have defined it in the past, and maybe it just needs a new definition.
I was going to say eager sounds pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, I don't resonate with that either. Actually, now that
Hmm.
you mention it,
Oh,
like
that's
like
funny.
I'm intrigued. Is what's the gonna is
Well,
like
yeah,
I'm
and
yeah.
all of it, it's basically your definition of the words I'm using
Right. Yeah,
that aren't.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
but no,
I have no idea what the definitions are for you, so they
no,
may very well align.
yeah, intrigued and eager, or to me, are the same.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah, so
resonating. It's resonating. It's kind of an anticipation without a lot of woo to it.
yeah, I'm definitely not attached,
Yeah,
cuz like
that's the word. Yeah,
I now that I have my negative COVID test, right? Like I'm in and we're good. Like
right.
now now it's just like going through the steps to get in, and I actually like I took a shower today in the dark, and I was like, "Yep, this is going to be good."
Oh, that's awesome. That's
so
awesome. It's
so
it's
yeah,
it's
so
it's 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 basically playful to you.
yeah, yeah, it's just
Hmm.
it's just showing up and
Yep. Because
experiencing
you
it.
know what, if you give it too much credence, you can actually, in essence, become disappointed. So it's kind of nice to be
Yeah,
neutral.
yeah, I have very little I have very like like if someone were to ask me, "What do you want to get out of it?" It's just like I want to get 5 days and 6 nights in darkness.
I was
That's
gonna
what I
say,
want to get out of this.
I just want to experience it. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
I just want to experience that, and
Yeah.
whatever is going to happen throughout that experience is going to happen, and I am going to be present for it.
You know what? It's so funny. Is what just came to me. It's kind of like just taking a dump. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna feel good, and we're good.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and drop a deuce here. We got to
Right,
move this one.
exactly. Let's go with 35 today, okay?
35. Wonderful. All right, so let's see what 35 is today. She who is centered in the Tao can go where she wishes without danger. She perceives the universal harmony even amid great pain, because she has found peace in her heart. Music or the smell of good cooking may make people stop and enjoy, but words that point to the Tao seem monotonous and without flavor. When you look for it, there is nothing to see. When you listen for it, there is nothing to hear. But when you use it, it is inexhaustible. Wow.
We just had that conversation.
I know. I know. That's
I
so
love it
great.
when I'm that alive.
Yeah,
Um,
that's beautiful.
it was really cool listening to Sharante and the Hogan translation. All I kept putting in the word in that whole thing was energy instead of love, and it's synonymous to what I, you know, how I share. It was pretty cool. And with this, it's the same thing. The more I'm aligned and the more I'm just living in the Tao, it gives me a sense of calmness, but excitement. And I want to say just eagerness at the same time. My energy just goes up. So that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's look at this as it reads through. She
go
who is
for it.
centered in the Tao can go where she wishes without danger.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because if I do that, then life, I don't, it's just like with you. I don't, people are like, well, so what is, I just love the energy that's coming through. I mean, I'm excited about that. It feels happy. but I don't know what's happening next.
Right. And then, and if you're focused on what's happening next, then that's where fear comes in, and that's where, in being centered in the Tao, it's not that you won't you won't experience things that are hurtful or harmful, but you will be guided by the Tao, and you will go where you wish. That doesn't mean you will go wherever, you're not going to tempt the Tao either. Because, like, I knew people when I was younger who would, because they had identities that they held on to, they put themselves in dangerous situations.
Yep. Yep. Let's see how far I can go.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
because
But
and that's the thing. I was talking to somebody about that yesterday, and I said, I said people who say that they're connected and then they turn around and do something that makes absolutely no sense. I'm like, all right, that's all I got.
yeah,
Because your interpretation of being connected is very different than mine.
right. Like, challenging the world and living in it are different things, right?
Hmm.
Like, and I think that she who is centered in the Tao can go where she wishes without danger. Then there is faith in where you're being guided. She
And
perceives the
and that makes
universe.
go ahead.
She perceives the universal harmony even amidst great pain, because she has found peace in her heart.
Right, because pain to me is an indication that I sidestepped.
Mm,
And so I'm like, ah, shit.
yeah.
And it's when I was with my ex-husband, dating him and through my marriage and separation, I got in 7 car accidents.
Whoa.
And one of them was with my son being pregnant, 6 months. And I haven't had one since.
Yeah.
And
It's
no, and it's just amazing to me how um just how it works. And I say amazing, and it's like it's real.
yes, absolutely.
you know, there's no other way. It actually works. So when people doubt what it is that is there, I just look at them and I say, okay, I'll stick to my adage. The universe doesn't lie, people do.
Yeah.
I'll take
This is interesting as we move into this next
yeah.
section of this 35, how this is all kind of connecting up. So, music or the smell of good cooking can make people stop and enjoy. Now, when I hear you talk about your ex, and when I hear you talk about all of these things, like this idea that, like, something coaxed you into, like, there was a physical thing that coaxed you into being in that relationship, whether it's, like, we can
Hmm.
talk about music or the smell of good cooking can make people
Hmm.
stop and enjoy, but we can also look at, like, that car accident that you can't look away from, right?
Right.
Like, that thing that is so, just, it is giving you something physical.
Right. Because I couldn't hear it. And
Right.
hmm
And so
no,
you're
and I
being,
didn't. And it's weird is and it's just and I say weird, it's amazing to me because my oldest sister was not ever a supporter of mine. And she did everything to get me in trouble because it was fun for her. Um, and she was the one who was telling me to get away from him. And I
yeah.
didn't believe her because she had no, I didn't trust a damn thing she said to me. So she was the one who kept trying to get me to get out. And my mom kept convincing me to stay. And it's, the other way around. It was meant to be. And even once we got divorced, my sister, she was the one who fought for me. For
Mm,
but she was never my supporter as a sister, so I didn't trust a damn thing she did, except when she did, one thing for me.
right.
It's just interesting. I mean, I understand how I ended up with him and why I stayed and all that. So yeah, now,
Yeah.
now,
Right. And that concept, like, music and smell of good cooking or whatever, may make people stop and enjoy, but the words that point to the Tao seem monotonous and without flavor. And that's something that I always even here on Tao of the Day, and I've been presenting Tao of the Day on different platforms for over a decade, and this is one that's fine. I don't know if it's just time, its
Hmm.
time has come or whatnot, but it's something that I always kind of struggled with, was just because like it is monotonous and can very much seem without flavor, because it's like this is the harder work. This is the trying to understand, and I think maybe this app is, it's just really conducive for it, because I get to talk to people through the monotony of it and to understand, and I think love is definitely more attainable today than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you say that because of the work that I've been doing for so many years, for over 25 years, working with people, and everybody's been trying to get me to explain it. And it
Right.
takes a lot more energy for me to explain it. And that's what was hurting me. And I didn't hear it. I didn't
Yeah.
hear it because people wanted to understand. And I'm thinking, shit, if
Well,
I
people
know that
wanted to
I'm,
get excited.
yeah, no, they actually, yes. And they want to understand so they can get out of the victim stage, and,
Yeah.
being thrown out the way, this universe shutting down and turning me off. I get to do full circle, but I'm in the span, I almost say going back. I'm in the space now of not explaining it,
That's right.
and I'm being it. And you just said it. There's no way to explain what
No.
I see and feel. And people ask me, they go, "How do you do this?" And I'm like, "Because it's right there." But how do you know that? Because it's right there. Well, I don't
and
understand. You're not supposed to.
and this is where it ends. Like, when you look for it, there's nothing to see.
Yes.
When you listen for it, there's nothing to hear. When you use it, it is inexhaustible.
Exactly. And most people don't want to use it. And that's where I was holding them up. And I didn't see it until, yeah. And so I don't have to now. I get to be me, and I get to be the happy, joyful, playful person that I want to be. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And that's such an important understanding, right? Like, when you hear the truth, it's not going to be exciting. It's
Right.
going to be the truth.
That's
It's
why I
not going
always,
to try and be anything for you. It's not going to rhyme. It's not going to be able to be explained in two little lines on a, like on a poster. It is going to be the truth. And it's going to be difficult to onboard sometimes. And when you look for it, you're not going to see anything. And when you listen for it, you're not going to hear anything.
Mhm.
But when you get into the spaces, Dr. Rao and I talk about, of being, like when you get into that space of being, you can be forever. And you can be, and that being is something that's inexhaustible. You won't find the end of your being. Like, even in death, there will be being in that state.
Oh, God, I hope so. Um, and it's interesting because when I connect the dots, and it's so much fun. It's like what's happening in your life today happened 20, 30 years ago or whatever, and people want to go back to 20, 30 years ago to connect today. And I'm like, no, it's just part of life. It's just what it is. And when people want to do that, it gets dramatic. And that's when I want to just, slap them a little bit and say, get out of your head. And
That's the
it takes away
clumsiness.
the beauty. It takes away
Yeah.
the beauty of like when you're talking about the Tao. Yeah, it could get really analytical and it just gets heavy, and you're like, no, 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 this is just what it is. It's simply it.
Right.
I'm giving you a different perspective or a broader perspective or an awareness simply because.
Yeah, for many, many decades, psychology has been very clumsy about bringing people, trying to get people to relive shit, and it's like, no, you don't, like, you did that already. You don't have to go back there. You just start here and understand that that happened, and that is the reason, or there is a thought process that is connected to that. That's all.
Mhm. And that does, and you know what, that does keep people in the post traumatic stress, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
does
it
it
does,
does
and
it
that
does
keeps them
feed.
going back to the
Yeah,
therapists,
yeah.
and so it's a good business model.
Oh, that's God. I love you for that, because you know what? But I, but I like your interpretation. That was pretty cool. Yeah, they missed a mark a little bit. Not really.
Yeah,
They
well,
they
no, I mean,
created the mark intentionally for
well,
money.
I don't think, I think they were innocent. I think
Oh,
that was where it
absolutely,
was, and
absolutely.
I think we are in a new paradigm and
Yep.
ready to move forward.
Okay. Big hug to you. Thank you.
Love you so much. We'll be in
Yeah.
touch.
Yes.
All right, Graciela. We got Graciela. Nobody else is in line, so if anyone wants to get in line, you definitely come on up. This may be the last. Tomorrow may be the last Tao of the day I do before my dark retreat. So we'll see
Hello,
how
my
that goes.
baby. Hello,
Graciela,
my darling.
hello, ma. I don't know, my
Yeah,
ragtime
I
gal,
don't.
right?
Yeah, there you
Hello,
go.
my
I just
ragtime gal.
there you go. But I didn't want to say
I
that to
can bring up the
you.
lyrics and we can sing
Hello, my
together.
ragtime boy. How are you this morning?
I am doing great. I
Mm.
unfortunately, like, I had Kelly on the line and she is having problems getting up, and I don't know if it's my app, her app, or whatever, but she's listening, and I hate it when my buddies can't come up. And I'm so glad that they do, especially because I only have maybe two more Tao of the days. Like, depends on if I do one Thursday. I have a 9 a.m. flight, so I don't
Yes, oh
know if
my
I'm gonna
gosh, you
do a
got a negative test. You see, I
I
told
got
you it
I
was
got
going
my
to
negative
happen.
test, so I am
Yes,
in it to win it, and I am
that's
showing
right.
up in Guatemala, and
Mm.
I am going to step into the darkness. It's gonna be
Yep,
pretty awesome.
and so you took a shower in the dark. Okay, was the water cold as well?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
always. I can't take a hot shower, because
Oh
if I
my
take a
gosh.
hot shower, I will never want to take another cold shower.
Right, 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 right.
Like, I've done
You know
that
what?
before, and it's taken me a long time to get back. Just one hot shower just makes it go, oh god, this is so nice, and then it's just like, no, that's not what this is. Like, but I, after Guatemala, I might take a warm shower. We'll see.
Mm, yes.
But
Oh
the
my
water in
gosh.
Guatemala is not going to be heated, so I want to keep it real. But
Awesome.
I've been taking cold showers for a long time. It's good for the parasympathetic system. It's also good for the nervous system, and with me having the MS, like, it's probably good
Right.
for that. Just like, those experiences are good. It's
Awesome.
not that I don't
So,
want to, like, I take warm baths. I don't take ice baths or anything like that.
mm, I prefer steaming hot showers for sure. More
Yeah,
even more than a bath, but my parents had a country house aside from the house where we grew up in, and so we would only go there, in the weekends and whatnot. And the water was straight from the spring.
yeah, yeah,
And it was really cold. And I'm an island girl,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
don't know how you feel in the cold water, but I get this pain behind my ear um, when I'm in the cold like that. And so this is why
Mm,
I live in Florida, and this is why I take hot steaming showers, not
yeah.
cold ones.
Like, my experience with a cold shower really kind of began. I don't know if it began, but it was definitely enhanced when I went to Colombia, and there was no heat for the water because, it's like I was in Medellin, and so, the city of eternal spring, and the water came up, and it wasn't cold, right? It was
Hmm.
cold. It's probably 50 degrees or whatever. I mean, I suppose that's cold, but
That
um
is really cold.
but like, the first, I was just like, whoa, no, I couldn't. I had to turn the water on, get wet, turn the water off, wash, turn the water on. Like, and I had this experience, and everybody that I was with is just kind of like, yeah, it's cold, but, like, it was just, their experience was just so matter of fact about it that I was just like, oh,
Mm,
this isn't a big deal. Like, when I was in there for the first time, I was just like, "Oh, this is a big deal. Like, there's no hot water. What the fuck?" Like, and then I was just like, "No, it's not a big deal. Like, they're not going to buy propane to heat their water.
mm,
Like, and sometimes their water is warm because they're getting it off the roof. And
right.
so it is. It's this gray water. So this beautiful system. But that's what kind of, like, piqued my interest, let's say, in taking cold showers, and
Mm.
being kind of more connected. So, off topic completely. Do we have a number?
Yes, as I just finished my tea and now I'm getting ready to get to work. Let's do 22.
22. Where did it go? There you are. All right. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. The master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. Because he has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't just using idle phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you truly be yourself.
That's a very long one.
Yes, it is.
You were cutting for a few there, like not really cutting, but it just sounded a little weird. But I mean, yeah, what do you have to tell me about it?
Well, let's see. Well, let's start going through this. Just like it is a long one. And so this last line, the last lines and the first lines, I always like to bring together to see
Yes.
how they relate, we have a destination and we have a beginning, and we can figure out how we get there, because this is a long one, and it's like there's a lot going on in it. So
Yeah, let's do the end and the beginning.
so the last line states, only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. And then the first line is, if you want to become whole, let yourself be partial.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that, and I don't know how you read it. I'm interested in knowing, but I see that as like, if you want to be whole in yourself, you have to let yourself be partial, meaning that you are not in control of your life. If you want to be whole, you are not in control of everything. And you get to have this experience of giving up to the Tao by being lived by the Tao. You aren't living, you are allowing yourself to be lived by the Tao. That way you can truly be yourself. If you want to become whole, pardon me, if you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. So in being partial, you are you, but you are also being lived by the Tao.
I love that.
So that's
I
how I
mean,
see those
yeah.
things relating, that beginning and the end.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm going through all of these spiritual milestones because I'm finally um being guided not just by spirit but by an actual person who is coaching me, right? And this is
Mhm.
a first for me. This all just started this year. Um so it's pretty cool to
Yeah,
connect to some of the things in this Tao today.
right.
I knew that the date was going to give me everything I need, and then
Oh
I woke
yeah.
up to a cancellation,
Hmm.
and I felt so relieved because I have a lot to catch up on and to
Right.
study. And so that's the beauty of, again, being in somewhat control of your job and what you do, because you are a business owner, and in the end you work when you want to, right? That's why consistency and making sure you do the things you need to do is so key, right?
Hmm.
But on a day like today, waking up to a cancellation, like months ago, that would have made me feel really insecure. It would have probably made me feel like, what did I say wrong as a brand new life coach to have this person cancel and change their mind, right? But now I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, let's reschedule, no problem. And now I have time for myself. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
And there's this line that comes, a little after that first line. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty, which I think relates very well to this. Like here is this emptiness presenting itself to you, the emptiness of your schedule, right? Like the rescheduling. But
Mm,
like in this, you can experience fullness within yourself. You can experience that growth that you've had because you're allowing that to be without judgment. Right? You're not
right,
judging that at this moment, so you can experience the fullness of
right,
being.
right, right. Yes, thank you so much.
Hmm. If you want to
And
be
so,
well,
mm,
go ahead.
oh no, go ahead, please.
So the next lines are, if you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up.
Right, right. I mean, I don't know. I kind of grew up in a very controlling environment, even though it was all messed up. Um, it was like her way or the highway, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned to let that go when I became a stepmom because there's no way you can approach like a brand new family like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's been an interesting journey of almost 7 years of kind of surrendering and accepting and adulting in a positive light.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, like this concept of if you want to be reborn, let yourself die, is like letting that old concept of who you were and who you thought you would be die. Because if you can let that die, you can be reborn as is needed in this moment. We talked
Mm.
earlier about sticking to the block of wood, not the utensil. You come from this block of wood that can be carved into anything. But if once you've carved it into something, your options are limited. So you stick
Mm.
to the idea, right? Like let your identity, as we've talked a lot about today, let your identity die so that you can be reborn in this moment. And then you
Right.
will be given everything because you have given up all of that identity. You've given everything that you held on to up. So now everything is here for you at this moment.
Mm. I feel it. I feel like that's I agree. That's exactly where I am right now.
Yeah.
Yay.
And so that, as you start to embrace that, like being the master, right? By residing in the Tao, you set an example for all beings, which is, your path of life coaching and all of that. Like you set that example. And because you don't display yourself, it's not you, it's not your identity that you display so that people can see your light. So they can see the light because it is the light that they are drawn towards like a moth. It's not you as an identity, it's not you as a thing.
Hmm.
It is the
Hmm.
light that you have cultivated within yourself.
Oh my goodness. So good. Thank you. And
So
did you finish reading yours? Because that's when I hopped on at first. You
oh yes, I have not. I'm going to be moving to
mm,
that next
mm. All right,
because
well, I'll be here listening.
that was a big one.
And yes, was it 52, I think?
Yes, it was. It was.
See, I
Yeah.
remember. I've been listening. All right.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And best of luck to you today with your free time. And just to
Well, it's
wrap
not
this up.
free. I'm just going to be able
No,
to
no, no, I know.
study, which
Like
I'm so
just not here.
excited
Yeah.
about.
I don't want to
I'll be
I don't want
shackled
to.
to like a
Yeah.
my support group of books over here. That's like a
Yeah.
like four of them that I read at the same time, just open around me, and I go from one to the other like a true scholar.
Yes, yes, yes. Once again,
Oh
only
my gosh.
being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. Let yourself be lived.
Yes, that sounds good. Thank you so much, Martin John.
Absolutely. We'll be
And
in
then
touch.
when is your last one going to be? I'm sorry. When's your
It,
last
it's
Dow going to
it's
be?
it's definitely, well, it's not definitely. It's either tomorrow or Thursday. I have a 9 a.m. flight on Thursday, so it would have to be like
Early.
really early and probably truncated. So I probably won't do it on Thursday unless I just like I need a Dow for today and I'm not bringing anyone on and I'm just gonna read it for
Oh my
myself.
gosh, I'm going to cry.
No,
Oh
well,
gosh. I
I love
can't.
you.
All
It
right.
is so
I love
wonderful
you.
to be able to offer this. So thank you.
Ugh, we're gonna miss you so much, dude. I can't right now. All right, bye.
Bye bye. Okay, Jose Garcia is in the queue, and we'll see what he has. Um, Jose,
Hey,
how you doing,
good
man?
morning, Martin. How you doing?
I am doing well. You look like it sounds like you're smiling.
I am. How can you tell?
I am glad to hear that, and yeah, let's dive into a number.
All right. 62.
62. Off we go. All right, so 62. The Tao is the center of the universe, a good man's treasure, a bad man's refuge. Honors can be bought with fine words, respect can be won with good deeds, but the Tao is beyond all value, and no one can achieve it. Thus, when the new when a new leader is chosen, don't offer to help him with your wealth or your expertise. Offer instead to teach him about the Tao. When did the ancient masters esteem the Tao? Why did the ancient masters esteem the Tao? Because being one with the Tao, when you seek, you find. And when you make a mistake, you are forgiven. That is why everybody loves it.
Wow, that's powerful. That's
So
amazing.
what? Yeah. What are some of your initial thoughts?
That on the right path, and I guess that's why everything's going into. It's like going into place. It's like it's meant, like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Everything's just fitting in place, and that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So we'll go through this. So this is an interesting start to this. And so when we end, everybody loves the Tao. So at the end here, it says, why did the masters esteem the Tao? Because being at one with the Tao, when you seek, you find. And when you make a mistake, you're forgiven. That's why everybody loves it. Okay, so that's how we end this. But we started from this space of the Tao is the center of the universe, a good man's treasure, a bad man's refuge. So what are your thoughts there? A good man's treasure and a bad man's refuge.
Well, and my interpretation of that is sometimes we treasure things that we don't acknowledge until we lose it, or it, so we gotta pay close attention to the things that we really appreciate in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought on it, and it's.
So I look at this, very similarly, I think. But we all have good and bad within each of us, right? There's
Correct.
just the dichotomy of that, right? And there's no good or bad at all. And so, but there are things in our lives where we make choices which we know are bad, like we lie or cheat or steal or hide or all of those things. And sometimes those things are good things, and sometimes those things are bad things. But sometimes we choose them as bad things. And so, the Tao is the center of the universe, a good man's treasure, a bad man's refuge. So when a good man uses the Tao, you say things from your heart. When you are being benevolent and open and honest, I can say things to somebody because I have an open heart at the moment that they can hear. And it could be critical, but coming from a good place, when I am at one with the Tao, I can present that information and be like, this is truth, and people can receive it. But it's also a bad man's refuge, which means that a bad man could utilize those same words and but it be done with malice, it be done with ill intent.
With
you
bad
know like
intentions.
so
Yes.
like you could see that, because the Tao is all around us, you can see it all the time, and you could fool and lie, and you can do all of these things with this kind of sense of like, look, I am being benevolent, but it is all done through structure, not substance. Right? It's all done just because, like, I am presenting something as a lie, and I am presenting it to the extreme. That's kind of how I see this. The Tao is the center of the universe, and you can hide behind it, or you can be, you can utilize it as the treasure that it is.
Yeah. That's
So
very, man, very informative.
as we move into the next line, it says honors can be bought with fine words. Respect can be won with good deeds. But the Tao is beyond all value, and no one can achieve it. See, and this is where, like, this is that bad man's refuge. If you go in and just, dish out fine words, you might get respected because you are giving so much, like you're blowing smoke up someone's ass.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden you're blowing smoke up their ass, and so they give you honors. Why? Because they feel good that you're on that you're like burying them in these fine words. Respect can be won with good deeds. You can go ahead and do good things. You can be seen as putting, like paper towels in a truck, right? Or something, right? Like you can
Yeah.
do this deed and get good respect, or get respect from someone because you did something nice. You were seen giving homeless money, so then you will get respect. But the Tao is beyond all value, and no one can achieve it. So it's not as if this is somewhere that you're going to. This is just something that you're existing within. It's something that you're existing with. And so this is what moves us into that next line. Thus, when a new leader is chosen, don't offer to help him with your wealth or experience. Or no, don't offer to help him with your wealth or expertise. Offer instead to teach him about the Tao.
Well, that's a really good message right there. Thank you.
See, we don't want to blow smoke up people's ass, because what they're going to give us, like, we can earn honors that way, sure, but is that what we want? Is that who we are? Is that what we're limited to? We
Yeah,
can be seen as doing good deeds, or we can just be. Maybe those deeds are good, but we don't see them that way. We don't recognize them as singularly good ideas or good deeds or anything. We experience them as they are, and we don't go out of our way to do good deeds. And so when we find that we have a new manager, or we have a new person in our life that is, we're getting a new job. I know you're looking for new jobs, and all that. When you have a new leader, it's not your wealth or expertise that's going to help them the most. It's you doing you and experiencing the Tao as you are, so that inspires them to be them and experience themselves as they are.
right. Yeah, because I'm just looking for more. How can I say, ventures and endeavors. Like,
Hmm.
'cause I'm pretty good right now, but I love to do a lot of different things, learn a lot of different things, and most importantly, help others. So
And I
that's
think that's something that, we always have to, like, what does that mean to help others for you? Because honors can be bought with fine words, and respect can be won with good deeds. It's like, when you're helping other, you doing good deeds so you can be respected, or do you respect yourself and good deeds come from you?
it's respecting myself and good deeds come from me.
Right. That's the way we want to do it. And we want to just be present so that the deeds are done through us. Because you know what? If we are determined to do good deeds, we might do good deeds for the wrong reasons, or we might do good deeds for the wrong people. But when we are guided by the Tao, good deeds come through us. And so we are not set on doing good deeds. We are set on being, and in being, good deeds are done.
Absolutely. Wow.
Hmm. And that's what brings us to the end of this. Why did the ancient masters esteem the Tao? Because being one with the Tao, when you seek, you find. Right? It's not like you're looking for good deeds. You're
Yeah.
at one with the Tao, and now good deeds are found. It's not like you're out there looking to be seen as doing good deeds. And when you make a mistake, you are forgiven. You are forgiven because you are given that opportunity to recognize that and correct your mistake. And that's why
Absolutely.
everybody loves it, because it's not like if you go out of your way to intellectualize your good deeds, and you have to prove yourself, and you have to prove that this is a good deed. Well, then you have overthought it. And why should you be forgiven when you made all of these excuses as to why it was good when it turned out bad? But if you just stepped up and did something and a mistake happened, well, you are forgiven for that mistake, because it's not on you. It is like you are, and that probably wouldn't be a mistake if you are guided through the Tao. It could be seen as a mistake, but you will be forgiven, and then that will turn into the good fortune that it was supposed to.
That's amazing. I love this.
Yeah, 62 is a nice one, and I like that we got to explore it a little bit, because I don't think I've read this very many times. I do like this one, and I think that's why I kind of took over a little bit on that. But I do like this one, because it starts off with this concept of being a refuge for certain people and a treasure for others, and so it definitely puts it on the scales, as it were.
Uh, Remarkable. Well, thank you very much, Martin.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
coming
you.
up.
Nothing but love, bro.
All right. Well, we'll be in touch, and I'm going on that dark retreat, so we won't be in touch for
I
next
know.
couple weeks. But
Hey,
if
you
I
be
see you
safe
tomorrow,
out
I'll see
there.
you. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a blast.
All right, bro.
All right,
We'll
brother.
keep in
You have a
touch.
good one.
You too.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit that 52 again. We're gonna read through it again. And I know I've covered it a little bit, but in the beginning was the Tao. All things issue from it. All things return to it. To find the origin, trace back the manifestation. When you recognize the children and find the mother, you will be free of sorrow. And I think that's where I ended. If you recognize the children and find the mother, like the children, like I always talk about triggers, because I'm coming out of the addiction world and stuff. And so triggers that get you upset or frustrated or angry or all these things, right? Like those are the children. The mother is something that's happening within you from an experience that you had a long time ago. That doesn't mean you have to re-experience it. It just means you have to recognize the mother behind the children, as Energy Lady and I were talking about today. You don't have to relive your childhood trauma in order to grow out of it. Of course, there are certain traumas that have to be grown out of in a slow way or whatnot. I don't want to, I don't want to quantify or qualify what trauma is for you or anything like that. But when you find the mother of, when you can recognize the children, what is being birthed because of a belief you have, then you can trace back to the mother what is the belief you have, and then you can be free of sorrow. Why? Because you recognize that that belief is a lie. And that's how I see this 52. If you close your mind in judgments and traffic with desires, so if you close your mind off with judgments and desires, and so once you close your mind off, your heart will be troubled. So when you close your mind off because you have judgments, when you close your mind off because you have desires, your heart will be troubled always. If you keep your mind from judging and aren't led by the senses, your heart will find peace. So if you keep your mind from judging other things, if you keep your mind from judging your experience and the desires that you have, um, and you're not led by the senses will lead us astray all the time, because the senses are so easily swayed. Your heart will find peace. So if you aren't led by the senses, your heart will find peace. And that is why I'm going into this dark retreat. This dark retreat is about limiting my senses, limiting my sense of sight, specifically. Seeing into darkness is clarity. This is where it gets really clear for me that this is about my dark retreat. Seeing into darkness is clarity. Knowing how to yield is strength. Use your own light and return to the source of light. This is called practicing eternity. And as we brought it back to the beginning, in the beginning there was the Tao, all things issued from it, all things return to it. That is practicing eternity. By me returning to the darkness, right? Returning to the womb, maybe, I will be able to find, hopefully, a new light within me. Oh, Joseph Mojo is coming on, and just in time as I was finishing up my Dow. How you doing, Joe?
Excellent, brother. How are you?
I am doing very well. I am one step closer to Guatemala, so we are just wrapping up some Dow of the day today and tomorrow, and we'll see what happens on Thursday when I travel.
One step closer. Does that mean you're walking to Guatemala?
No,
Kidding.
in
Just kidding.
in a way, yes. Not physically, but yes,
Right,
I'm
right.
taking one step at a time. Like the beginning of my recovery, I was a 12-step guy. So
Yep.
there's
One
always
day
12
at a
steps to everything.
time. Yep. Sweet Jesus. Yep. Hey, just on a sidetrack here, squirrel. There was a book years ago that my mother read to us when we were kids about a guy named, I think his name was Peter Jackson, maybe Peter something, who walked across America just to discover our country from the ground, from the boots, and it was a fascinating story. So I wonder if you
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
Are you going to keep a journal of your experience? I'm assuming.
To some degree, I'm not one that likes to hang on to memory, right? Because I believe
Okay, right.
most memory is faulty, right? Like
I
I think
see.
they've
Yeah.
done I think they've done research. This is less than 50% of your memories are right. So in terms of keeping a journal, I am bringing. So I'm going to be in the dark retreat, and I'll be in the darkness. So I will have a journal with me to kind of jot down kind of big ideas that might come up, but I won't be journaling like in the darkness so much. But
Yeah.